You wake up in the middle of the night, your body trembling. Not from cold, not from fear, but from something deep within. A force, an energy, a presence unlike anything you've ever known. You try to shake it off, but it doesn't stop. The world around you feels different. Reality itself begins to warp. Sounds become sharper, lights seem too bright, and you feel like you're slipping into something vast, something unknown. This isn't a dream. This isn't your imagination. This is Kundalini energy awakening. And if you don't understand what's happening, it can consume you. Welcome to Kundalini Awakens, where we uncover the truths of Kundalini and more. People talk about spiritual awakening like it's some peaceful, blissful process. They show you meditating monks, glowing auras, and serene smiles. But they don't tell you about the symptoms, the ones that make you feel like you're losing your mind. The ones that make you question whether you're dying or waking up to something greater. Some of these symptoms are so intense that people have been hospitalized, misdiagnosed, and even driven to the edge of their sanity. But here's the truth. These symptoms are signs of something far beyond medical explanation. Something ancient. Something powerful. And if you ignore them, you risk missing out on the most transformative experience of your life. By the end of this video, you'll not only recognize the 7 strange symptoms of Kundalini energy, but you'll understand why they're happening to you and what they mean for your future. In ancient texts, they call it Kundalini, the primal energy of creation itself. For most people, it sleeps their entire lives. But for a few, it awakens, and when it does, nothing is ever the same again. This energy doesn't rise politely. It erupts. It surges through your body, breaking through every mental, emotional, and physical block you have. It doesn't care if you're ready. It doesn't care if you're comfortable. And it certainly doesn't care if it makes sense to your rational mind. Suddenly, you start experiencing things that science can't explain. Uncontrollable tremors, strange visions, overwhelming emotions that seem to come from nowhere. The rules of reality shift. It feels like you're being rewritten from the inside out. Is it divine? Is it dangerous? Or is it both? Some say it's just the nervous system misfiring. Others believe it's the awakening of higher consciousness. But here's what matters. You can't stop it. You can only surrender. And when it begins, it brings symptoms. Strange, unsettling, and sometimes terrifying signs that this force is rising within you. Most people ignore them, dismiss them, or worse, fear them. But if you do that, you risk suppressing the most powerful transformation of your life. The symptoms are real. The symptoms are intense. And the symptoms are next. The first symptom, intense body vibrations. It starts when you least expect it. A sudden buzzing deep inside you, like electricity crawling through your spine. At first, it's subtle, just a faint hum beneath your skin. Then, without warning, it intensifies. Your hands tremble, your legs jerk. Your whole body quivers as if caught in an unseen current. You try to stop it, but you can't. It's not coming from the outside. It's coming from within. Some describe it as a deep, internal vibration, not a muscle spasm, not a shiver from cold, but something otherworldly. It feels like your very cells are shaking, as if reprogramming themselves in real time. And then the fear sets in. What is happening to me? Most people panic. They search for answers, only to be met with confusion. Doctors call it nervous system hyperactivity or stress-related tremors. But this is not stress. This is not anxiety. This is something else. Because along with the vibrations, something changes. Your thoughts become sharper, as if a new frequency has been unlocked in your mind. Your awareness expands, stretching beyond what you thought was possible. And if you listen, really listen, you'll notice something else. A strange pulse. It moves upward. Slowly. Methodically. Like something is rising inside you. In ancient spiritual traditions, this is the first real sign of Kundalini energy waking up. The coiled serpent at the base of your spine is no longer sleeping. It's stirring. And it's shaking everything in its path. But here's where it gets even more bizarre. Some people feel as if they're floating. Others experience a sensation of waves rolling through their body, as if an invisible force is pushing through them. And for a few, their body begins to move entirely on its own. Because when these vibrations intensify, they trigger something even stranger. Your body no longer listens to you. It starts moving by itself. The second symptom, spontaneous body movements, kriyas. You're sitting in silence, eyes closed, trying to meditate. Then, it happens. Your head jerks to the side, your spine arches. Your arms lift into the air as if guided by an invisible force. Your fingers twist into strange shapes, forming symbols you've never learned. You're not controlling it. Your body is moving entirely on its own. These involuntary movements, called kriyas, are one of the strangest and most undeniable symptoms of Kundalini energy rising. They come without warning. Some experience subtle swaying, as if being rocked by an unseen hand. Others go into full body convulsions, shaking uncontrollably. For some, it starts as a simple urge to stretch, a sudden need to bend, twist, or hold a posture. But then, something else takes over. The movements become automatic. Hands form mudras, fingers interlock into precise patterns, bodies flow through sequences they've never been taught. Where is this coming from? Spiritual practitioners say these movements are intelligent energy working through you. Kundalini is not just a force, it's a process, a restructuring of your entire system. Your body is being reprogrammed, shifting into alignment with higher consciousness. But to the unprepared, it's terrifying. Imagine sitting in a meeting, completely still, when suddenly your head starts nodding on its own. Imagine lying in bed, half asleep, when your arms start lifting without your control. But here's the real question. What happens when you resist it? Those who try to suppress these movements often report feeling pressure, discomfort, or even pain. The energy doesn't stop. It just finds another way out. Some experience intense headaches, body stiffness, or a crushing weight in their chest. It's as if Kundalini is saying, "Let me move, or I will force my way through." And if that wasn't strange enough, some people report hearing something as the movements begin. Not voices, not music, but a sound only they can hear. The third symptom, hearing mysterious sounds that starts as a faint hum. Distant. Almost like a whisper. At first, you think it's just your imagination. The sound of your own breath. The quiet ringing that sometimes lingers in silence. But then, it grows. A high-pitched frequency vibrating inside your ears. A low, thrumming chant echoing in your skull. A deep, mechanical humming that seems to come from nowhere. No one else hears it, but you do. These are the mystical sounds of Kundalini activation. For some, it starts as a gentle ringing, similar to tinnitus, but this isn't damage. This isn't something a doctor can diagnose. Because this sound isn't coming from the world outside of you. It's coming from within. Many describe it as a deep om vibrating in their chest, as if the universe itself is speaking through them. Others hear flutes, bells, whispers, even entire celestial choirs. And the strangest part, These sounds react to your awareness. If you focus on them, they change. If you ignore them, they persist. And if you try to shut them out completely, they sometimes become deafening. Ancient yogic texts refer to these as nada sounds, sacred frequencies heard when the third eye begins to awaken. These frequencies are said to be the sound of the universe itself, the energy vibrating at a level that human ears were never meant to perceive until now. Some say this is the nervous system rewiring itself. Others believe it's the brain tuning into higher dimensions. But the truth is, when Kundalini activates, your perception changes. And these sounds, they're just the beginning. Because soon, it won't just be sounds you hear. It will be voices, messages, echoes of something beyond human comprehension. And if you follow the sound, if you let it guide you, it leads you to something even more intense. Something you see, but only with your mind's eye. The fourth symptom, seeing visions and symbols. You close your eyes, expecting darkness. But instead, you see light. Not just light. Patterns, shapes, symbols. They flash behind your eyelids, moving, shifting, expanding into something vast, something unexplainable. You're not asleep, but you're somewhere else, somewhere beyond. This is not a dream. People experiencing Kundalini awakening often report seeing things that aren't physically there. Not hallucinations, not imagination, but visions, intelligent, purposeful, and often terrifyingly vivid. For some, it starts as geometric patterns, golden spirals, fractals, intricate mandalas spinning in endless motion. Others see symbols, ancient letters they don't recognize, sacred sigils, glowing light codes that feel like messages but remain unreadable. And then there are the faces. People they've never met, eyes staring back at them. Deities, animals, otherworldly beings. Sometimes beautiful, sometimes overwhelming, sometimes so intense they wake up gasping for breath. Where is this coming from? In spiritual traditions, these visions are seen as the activation of the third eye, the pineal gland. The mystical gateway between physical reality and the unseen world is opening. And when it does, it reveals everything that has been hidden from ordinary sight. But here's what makes it even stranger. Some people report seeing events before they happen. Premonitions. Moments in time playing out in their mind before reality catches up. Others describe encounters with beings, guides, spirits, or even entities that test them. For skeptics, this sounds like nothing more than the mind playing tricks. But for those who go through it, the experience is undeniable. The symbols feel intentional. The visions feel realer than reality itself. And the scariest part, these visions often force you to confront yourself. You may see your own face staring back at you, but it's different. Darker. Shadowed. As if the hidden parts of you, the parts you've ignored, repressed, or feared, are now demanding to be seen. Because Kundalini isn't just about awakening to higher realities. It's also about facing the deepest parts of yourself. And once this energy starts revealing the truth you've been avoiding, it doesn't stop. It gets even more intense. And this is where people break. Because the next symptom, it drags every buried emotion, every suppressed memory, every hidden trauma to the surface. And when that happens, there's no turning back. The fifth symptom, overwhelming emotional turmoil. One moment, you feel like you're floating, weightless, euphoric, as if love itself is pouring through your veins. The next, you're drowning. A tidal wave of sadness, anger, fear, emotions you don't even recognize, crash over you, suffocating you from the inside. This is not normal. This is Kundalini energy forcing everything hidden to the surface. People assume spiritual awakening is peaceful, blissful, serene. But what they don't tell you is that before you ascend, you have to face everything that's been holding you down. And for most people, that means pain. Old memories resurface, things you thought you had healed, things you thought were buried. Suddenly, emotions hit you out of nowhere. You cry without reason. You rage without cause. One moment, you feel unshakable peace. The next, you're completely broken. Why? Because Kundalini energy doesn't just rise through your spine. It passes through every blockage, every wound, every suppressed trauma stored inside you. Your past comes back in waves. Regret, guilt, fear, shame. The emotions you avoided, denied, or numbed for years, they demand to be felt now. This is what ancient texts call the dark night of the soul. It's a complete breakdown of the false self. Your ego, your identity, everything you thought you were, it's stripped away, piece by piece. And this is where many people lose control. They go from blissful states of oneness to absolute despair. Some feel like they're losing their mind. Others feel like they're dying. But here's the truth. You're not dying. You're being reborn. And this pain is not a punishment. It's a purge. The energy is cleaning you out, burning through everything that's been weighing you down, every toxic belief, every suppressed trauma, every illusion that has kept you disconnected from your true self. And once the storm passes, something shifts. The emotions don't control you anymore. You don't cling to happiness. You don't run from sadness. You simply exist in a way you never have before. But here's the real question. If all of this was inside you all along, buried beneath layers of distraction, conditioning, and fear, who have you really been this whole time? Because once Kundalini burns away the false self, you're left with something even more unsettling. A new you. Or maybe the real you. And that's when reality itself begins to fall apart. The sixth symptom, a shift in consciousness. You wake up, but something feels off. The world looks the same, but it isn't. Colors seem more vivid, as if reality has been sharpened. Sounds echo in strange ways. Time feels different, slower, stretched, almost as if you're watching life happen instead of living it. And then, the strangest realization of all hits you. You are not who you thought you were. Kundalini doesn't just change the way you feel. It changes the way you perceive reality itself. At first, it's subtle. You start noticing things. People's energy. Their unspoken emotions. The space between words. The silence beneath the noise. You sense the hidden layers of existence that most people never see. But then, it gets deeper. You begin to feel detached. The things that once mattered, social validation, career goals, even your own personal dramas, seem distant, almost meaningless. You see through them. You see through everything. And for a moment, it's terrifying. Because if none of that was ever real, then who are you? Some describe this as ego death. The crumbling of everything you thought you were. The dissolution of identity. The realization that the self you've been holding onto was nothing more than a collection of stories, memories, and conditioning. For some, this is blissful, a complete merging with the universe, a feeling of infinite expansion. But for others, it's shattering. They feel like they're losing themselves, floating between two worlds, trapped in a space where nothing is solid, where everything is just an illusion. And this is where the real test begins. Because here's the truth. Once Kundalini shifts your consciousness, you can't go back. The world will never feel the same. The people around you will feel different. The things you once cared about will no longer matter in the same way. And that's when you realize you don't fit into your old life anymore. You've changed. And there's no reversing it. But the final symptom, that's the one that truly separates those who embrace this awakening from those who fear it. Because once you reach this stage, there's only one thing left to do. The seventh symptom, the death of the old you stand in front of the mirror, staring at your own reflection. But the face looking back at you isn't you. Not the you that you remember. Not the you that laughed at meaningless conversations, chased empty goals, or clung to an identity that no longer exists. Something has died, and something else has taken its place. This is the final symptom of Kundalini awakening, a complete and irreversible transformation of who you are. Your old self, the version of you that existed before this energy took over, is gone. For some, this is liberating. The weight of the past, the pain, the false beliefs, all of it stripped away, leaving behind something raw, pure, and limitless. They feel reborn, as if they are seeing life for the very first time. For others, it's terrifying. They feel lost, unrecognizable even to themselves. The things they once valued, material success, relationships, even their own emotions, no longer have the same grip on them. The world moves around them, but they no longer feel like they're a part of it. Because once Kundalini energy reaches this stage, you have a choice to make. Do you hold on to the past, trying to force yourself back into the mold of who you used to be? Or do you surrender and embrace the unknown? This is why so many struggle with Kundalini awakening. It doesn't just give you power, enlightenment, or bliss. It destroys everything that isn't real. And what's left? A version of you that is raw, unfiltered, and awake. No more illusions. No more masks. No more pretending. For some, this feels like being reborn into something divine. For others, it feels like being completely alone in a world that no longer makes sense. Because once Kundalini rewires your mind, your emotions, and your consciousness, there is no going back. The real question is, are you ready for what comes next? Conclusion. The final warning and guidance now you understand. The shaking. The spontaneous movements. The visions. The unbearable emotional storms. The loss of identity. Everything has been leading to this moment. Kundalini is not just an energy. It's an initiation. Some call it the serpent. Others call it the divine feminine. Whatever name you give it, one thing is certain, it changes you forever. But now, you have a choice. You can ignore these symptoms, suppress the energy, resist the transformation, and try to force yourself back into a normal life. But if you do, the energy will never truly stop. It will remain inside you, pushing, waiting, until the day you finally surrender. Or you can embrace it. Surrender to the unknown. Let go of the fear. And allow yourself to become the person you were always meant to be. Because the truth is, this isn't just about symptoms. It's about evolution. And now that you know the signs, the real question is, are you ready for what happens next? That's the final question, isn't it? Because once Kundalini awakens, once it shakes the very foundation of your being, there is no pretending it didn't happen. You can try to push it down. Try to live the same life. Try to be the same person you were before. But deep down, you'll know. You've changed. The world around you hasn't. The people, the routines, the expectations, they all stay the same. But you've seen behind the curtain. You've felt something most people will never experience. And that's the real test. Not the shaking. Not the visions. not even the identity crisis. The real test is how you move forward. Because this isn't the end of your journey. It's only the beginning. For centuries, Kundalini has been misunderstood. Some fear it. Some chase it recklessly, unaware of what they're inviting into their lives. Others awaken to it by accident and struggle to make sense of the chaos. But here's what most people get wrong. Kundalini energy is not the goal. It's just the doorway. A gateway into something deeper, something beyond words, beyond knowledge, beyond human understanding. What lies ahead? Only those who embrace the transformation will ever find out. But one thing is certain. Once you've awakened, the universe will never look the same again. So I'll ask you one last time. Are you ready?